It is a unique opportunity to talk to experts. We still have our domestic violence phone bank going right now, 210-351-1363. These are experts standing by. They're advocates who can answer your questions about anything that has to do with domestic violence. They are from the district attorney's office, and that is why we have Bexar County District Attorney Joe Gonzales with us live on set tonight. As this phone bank plays out, we're still taking your questions until 7 o'clock tonight. Mr. District Attorney, thank you for being with us live for the first time. Appreciate that, in studio. Talk about when people think of the District Attorney's office, they don't always think of resources to help domestic violence victims.
Well, that's true. First of all, thank you for having me. But yes, we have an arm of the District Attorney's office that is dedicated to seeking protective orders. We have a protective order unit that's housed in the Family Justice Center, which is an arm of the District Attorney's office. And that is our primary focus, is seeking some services for victims of domestic violence.
And it's not just legal help that they can provide. I mean, so often domestic violence victims, they may have to leave in a moment's notice. They don't have time to gather up their things. I mean, the Family Justice Center can provide things like clothing as well as legal aid.
Right. We have the ability to provide immediate assistance. For example, we have a food pantry. We might be able to provide some assistance with meals. We have counseling. We can sit down and provide a safety plan for them. We can also help them with housing assistance. We may be able to help them with job referrals in the future. And of course, we have the ability to obtain a protective order. So there are wraparound services that are provided at the Family Justice Center.
I know this is something that was talked about a lot, both pre, during, and, as we kind of hopefully get to post-pandemic here. There are some changes that have been made in the district attorney's office and in the court system to maybe bulk up some of those services. Tell us about some of those.
Sure, but first I'd like to mention that this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Yes.
I'm wearing purple in honor of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. But yes, we have done things to increase the ability to bring justice to victims of domestic violence sooner than later. One of the things that we've done is we've increased the number of prosecutors that handle those kinds of cases. Before I took office, there were 22. We now have 38. We have an intake division that is dedicated to reviewing these cases a lot sooner than before. And now I'm happy to say that more of the county court judges are agreeing to handle the misdemeanor domestic violence assault cases. So the idea is to, again, bring justice to the victims of domestic violence as soon as we can.
Yeah.
You talk about this being Domestic Violence Awareness Month, part of the reason for the timing of your visit and this phone bank. But we know that the pandemic has had a horrible impact on just the increase in domestic violence cases, people obviously dealing with a lot more stress and a lot more confined quarters. So talk about what your office has seen in terms of the last 18 months and what's that done to domestic violence survivors.
Well, sure. Well, I'll tell you, for example, we know that there has been a steady increase in family violence or domestic violence cases since 2015. For example, just the family violence and misdemeanor cases back in 2015 was about 3,700, and last year, 2020, was 6,700. That's just assault family violence cases. What we're doing is we are dedicating as many resources and as many hands as we can to, again, bring those cases some resolution as soon as possible. What happened during the pandemic is we know that a lot of times victims sheltered in place with their abusers. Now they're coming out, now they're filing cases with us, and we're doing everything we can to bring them justice.
Yeah, so much of it is, if we do nothing else today, hopefully we let people know there are resources within the district attorney's office that can help. Talk about protective orders. Myra and I were talking to you about it before we came on for this segment, and there seems to be some misconceptions about how valuable getting a protective order is.
I would say getting a protective order, seeking a protective order, is very valuable, and I would encourage everyone and anyone to do that if they believe that they need one. What it is basically a civil lawsuit. It is them applying to it in our office. Once we determine that there's a basis to seek a protective order, we will go to court. We will ask a judge to order that the alleged offender stay away from the victim. Typically, it's staying away, getting no more than 200 feet from them, that they not go to their residence, that they not go to their place of employment. Those are all measures that we're taking to try and avoid any potential future domestic violence. And then ultimately, we're looking to try and make that a final order if we can.
There are some people who would say a protective order, it's just a piece of paper. At the end of the day, that's all that it really is. But it is a critical step in building a case, correct?
Absolutely. Well, keep in mind, a protective order will not stop a bullet, but it's certainly one tool in our tool belt. It's one more tool that we can use to try and prevent future domestic violence. We want to use that in every way that we can, and I certainly would encourage people to seek protective orders. Not only the victims themselves, but family members. If you see something, say something, and we'll do everything we can to try and get a protective order for that victim.
What's your message to people who are watching out there right now, who may be scared, who may be afraid, for a loved member, for a family member, or for somebody for themselves? I mean, what's your message to them tonight?
My message is that they contact the authorities. If you yourself are a victim of domestic violence, please call the authorities. Do something about it to try and prevent you from being seriously injured or killed, or one of your family members. We have a number, 631-0100 is a number to the Family Justice Center. And I certainly would encourage you to call the police if you suspect that something is going to happen down the street or at work, or somebody who's a victim of domestic violence. Please let the police know.
And making that first call can be so intimidating. So before we let you go, I want to make sure that it's clear that anybody who wants to reach out, you don't have to have information lined up at the ready. You don't have to have a case already built. You just have to make that first call.
That's correct. And we will help you through it.
And part of that help is right now available at 210-351-1363. The Domestic Violence Phone Bank, the experts that you see right there will be available until 7 o'clock tonight. District Attorney Joe Gonzales, as always, appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks for being here in person.
Yeah.
How about that?
Have a wonderful week.
We'll be right back.